I have with me today Caitlin Reid, Communications Director at Comexposium, who's the real creative driving force this year behind UFI's Global Exhibition Day, now in its 5th year. So Caitlin, how did you get involved and what's it all about this year, presumably virtual?
Well, it's virtual for most people, certainly. So I got involved because it's a celebration that at Comexposium we've always really taken to heart. Global Exhibitions Day, as you say, this is the 5th year, and each year we always try to come up with ways to celebrate. It's a great way for us internally to promote being part of a big industry and to see all the amazing things we do. And externally, it's a great way to get people a bit more knowledgeable about the different people that we had at Comexposium and the things we do. It's an amazing, amazing campaign, what we're trying to do this year. Clearly, this is the biggest day of advocacy and awareness that we have as an industry. And obviously, it's very, very important, and we can see all the different things people are working on this year, certainly in all kinds of different ways. And this day should be the Hope and Optimism Day. It's the day that everybody in our industry should feel proud. So whether you're a venue or you're an organizer or an association or a service provider, a university, a consultant, whatever it is you do, anybody who's involved with the industry, this is your day. It's our day to come together, to share and look at the amazing things we've done, and to talk about our future.
It's a great precedent as well. I'm sure you'll agree with the Global Meetings Industry Day recently, where I think it was 12,500 event profs turned out. And I know we're living in very strange times indeed, but it was so heartening to see that outpouring of wanting to be heard and to give their hearts back into an industry that we all love. Of course, we'll come on to some of the creative elements soon, but there's obviously a very serious point here that exhibitions are key to rebuilding economies, and you've taken that, haven't you, as the main theme with 3 threads of that. Would you walk us through
exactly. So yes, you've articulated perfectly. Our theme, our kind of core message this year is that exhibitions are key to rebuilding economies. As an industry, we've got a big role to play, right? Exhibitions are critical to getting business and economies all back on track. But it's a task we're really up for. It's the foundation of our industry. We build and we operate these meeting places, these marketplaces, where people come together to trade, to learn, to collaborate, all of that. So this year, more than any other thing, that's what we need to focus on, is keeping that core task that we're really involved with. And like you say, we've taken kind of a 3-track approach, but what is so significant to that, and what is just so impressive this year, all the work that's being done on a lobbying side of things. So I think we really need to applaud. We're a collaborative industry anyway, which is one of the good things about working in exhibitions, but even more so than normal, people have really stepped up to come together and to work together to start really achieving some things. You know, when we've seen Germany separating the exhibitions from the mass gatherings, or China starting up their shows again, or the aid being available in Hong Kong to help drive business and travel and things like that. There's really, really a lot of work that's been happening in all kinds of different pockets. And you're right to bring up the meeting industry, and when they did the virtual event that brought down. And as well, we've seen all these webinars, and we've seen we've come together and we're working together. And Global Exhibition Day should be a celebration of even that, you know, just that at this time we came together and we worked together to help everybody. Because
just shows, doesn't it, that you can leverage adversity. And Doug Emsley, the MD, Group MD of Tarsus, was telling me how during the last recession, you know, the industry was able to, it came in for a lot of stick, especially hospitality, by the US Congress, but it was able to prove its worth and had to, because it was engaged in that debate. And again, you know, we've seen our industry, exhibition halls, used for emergency hospitals, and people can see that those people working there, yes, there's the army which gets the headlines, but they're actually event contractors who are living there. And we can use this opportunity of adversity to show what our real talents are and what we do and what our worth is. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. We're so local in so much of what we do. Not only just what we bring to a local economy and things like that, but where we work and we're involved with our communities, we often think about the sectors and the industries that we're involved in, and that's true as well. But we also are such big local supporters. And I think a lot of what you've seen with the different activities going on with the venues or with the contractors or helping to build all these things and everything is really showing that, you know,
yes,
we're not just this nebulous thing, we're based as well.
Now, on top of those first two threads of the lobbying and the showcasing, you've brought your very modern talents in to give us the drum beats to get involved.
Yes, and, so for absolutely no reason at all, I have named the 3 tracks of Global Exhibitions Day: lobbying, showcasing, and drumbeat. And the drum beat is, you know, what any marketer would tell you is just that consistency of messaging. So the things that you can always expect from a Global Exhibitions Day campaign, where we talk about the big numbers, we talk about 454 billion in business sales that are generated at events, you know, each year, or the 3.2 million people, the 32,000 exhibitions that happen every year, things like that. Those are those great big numbers that we want to make sure everybody's equipped with when they are, whether they're talking about it internally, whether they're talking about it in a lobbying effort, whether they're talking about it to see how your business contributes. Those kind of things, we're always playing with those messaging, and that's kind of the drumbeat side of things. But the side that I get a little bit excited about, because I love anything that's fun and creative and that you can touch, we're building this big map and we're doing these showcasing around stories. What we're trying to do is show the personal side, the human element, the emotional side behind all the things that happen at our events, because everywhere around the world, at every show, somebody's got a great story. They've got a president that opened their show and has this great quote, you know, talking about the importance of it. Or they've got a huge product launch, or they've got amazing CSR activities, or different ways that show how events are, like we're saying, part of local communities, part of industry communities, that they help to build businesses, that they're connecting people. We come together for so many reasons, and it should all be part of this big celebration of what events really bring, because it's not just this one-dimensional transaction piece. If it was just that, it would be a very different thing, but events really are a living, breathing part of our culture, and that's what I'm trying to celebrate.
And indeed the people within it, as you alluded to. There was a time, of course, when people fell into the industry, but thank God, I think now young people making an informed choice, and they can see that it's not a 9 to 5, and that really exciting things can happen there, and they can make their mark, whether it's in sustainability, technology, or other areas. So I love the fact that your campaign has broadened out, and watching your Ufi Connect session on creativity, where lots of ideas came through there. I loved Natasha Leal's points, which resonated with me, that don't be afraid to try, to just do something, and maybe it will evolve. And I say that from my personal experience last year. I thought it was a great idea to pop down to our back alley near Mash Media and do a Bob Dylan imitation with throwing out pieces of card with words on them, but of course I can't sing, as was.
Can I get the footage of that? I'm pretty sure I could do something with it.
It's there somewhere. I think it went viral in a bad way, but it just showed me that yes, you know, you can laugh at yourself and have a go and do something, and it may turn out. I had more professional people help me put a bit of gloss on that one, but it was great to hear your speakers there, kick around all sorts of creativity. And what would be some of your picks from what you heard?
We loved doing that session. We had a couple of calls going into that, and I was afraid we weren't going to get anything out because we were just having such a good time. But I loved everybody kind of took a bit of a telling you their top tips suggestion. And like you say, Natasha just being like, well, give it a go, which I thought was great. And oh my God, she's so funny. The other thing I loved when Ben said, if you've got a big to-do list, see what you can combine. And I thought,
he combined 5, didn't he? I think I have to get him on my to-do list, I think.
Right. It's like, how can I do that? Fantastic. Dan really was showing us a lot about how you try, right? So you adapt, and it doesn't matter what it is you do as part of your normal routines, but you just do something new. And the thing that I loved about his example was it was so emotional, and they used it internally, and that's where it had this kind of great resonance. And then to spread it externally too, where you see that human element, and Natasha touched on that a bit too, that human element behind it, which is just storytelling, right? It's what we all do. And it adds everything to creativity. Being light, being human, being personable, being funny. And I hope that that's why the UFI Connect session went down well. You know, we were just having a good time. We're having a good time having a chat. And I think that's really what a lot of this is about. And I think programs like GED are really about that. It's just, this should be good. This should feel good. People should be happy afterwards. And that's what I want. I really think that that's something we need now. So I hope that that's how people feel about it.
For sure, Caitlin. And do you think it's important to work on several levels? Because, you know, that webcast that Ben showed, you know, was mind-blowing. But of course, we all don't wear yellow glasses and have that talent. There are people who still don't know what we do, which is what Natasha's point was, I think, in her very sweet video as well. You know, just showed that. So we do need to address those people, don't we, with our campaign?
Oh, sure. And, you know, I think we've seen it with some of the things going on, like I know the radio interview that Mr. Farnfield did the other day, where there was a bit of, yes, you know, let's get those theater people back on at the end. And you're like, it's not exactly, yes, but that's not exactly what we were talking about. Or even all the campaigns now about separating exhibitions from mass gatherings. Certainly there is still a bit of unfamiliarity with exactly what it is we do. But I think that that's more about our explanation, because once you get down to, everybody's been to some sort of show, and once you get down to kind of talking to them on a personal level and they understand it, then they get it. But it's trying to build that world. We don't seem to have the vocabulary still to say, this is what the exhibition industry is. Although I do think that that's improving. I certainly think that that's better now than it was when I joined the industry, and I'm sure when people joined it before that, it was.
I guess we're just a complex industry, Caitlin.
A lot of disappointed parents not understanding what you were doing over the years, but I think now.
I guess it shows the depth and complexities of our industry, because 120 years ago, with the Universal Exhibition in Paris in 1900, people were probably asking the same question, but the serious side was that it had 40 pavilions, national pavilions, and it brought over 20,000 French mayors from cities and small towns and villages to eat together on one day in the Tuileries Gardens, if you forgive my pronunciation. But, you know, it put a real statement there that exhibitions build economies in those days. We're talking about rebuilding now, but it shows that DNA link we have with our heritage, and we can remind people that this is a tried and trusted formula, one that is evolving fast, of course, and but it's great to have that history too. Would you agree?
Oh gosh, I couldn't agree more. And I think when we look at things like your World's Fairs and some of the exhibitions that were maybe just after the war and things like that, and you see all the innovations, and you see how prestigious it was, and you see everybody really dressed up to go and to witness these things that we take for granted. Certainly in today, about how much cool stuff happens at shows, but when you look back and you see these stories, you see Einstein at a show, you know, listening to something, or you see all of the different things that were launched at the World's Fairs and all. How amazing it must have been to see the science and technology. And I look back at it, right? And you see these photos, and we're collecting a lot right now. So I'm getting to spend some time really looking at first in flight stuff and things. And I think, wow, imagine being there. But I've been to shows where lots of cool stuff has happened too. You know, it's not something that happened in the past. These moments are happening at our shows today, and they are what is building the world. And it might not be that apparent when it's happening right in front of you, but it is all of these connections being made that is what builds business, and it is what spreads. And you know, that's why we use that word connecting so much, because it's those little connections that seem to spread and become this much bigger thing than an hour on a booth.
Sure. And some of the, e-gaming shows, e-sports shows that you see now, you can take some of that technology into other applications, and it's quite mind-blowing, what they can produce on the show floor there. Would you agree also, Caitlin, to finish up with that, I think you did mention it, we're celebrating, right, with GED 2020, and how can people get involved and tap into some of those creatives? I assume from the UFI side, is that right?
Oh, yes. So if you go on to globalexhibitionsday.org, there are all kinds of templates, materials, ideas. There's more stuff there than anybody could possibly want. We are trying to make all of that accessible to everybody. And also create whatever you want, right? I want everybody to feel like this is your day, you own it. So share on your channel, share in your branding, share as you want. Just, our theme is exhibitions are key to rebuilding economies. Hashtag it GED 2020 and celebrate how you want. Whether it's a brainstorm you want to have with your own team, or you want to go onto one of the webinars that's happening, or you want to produce videos or do a podcast or whatever you want. It's just this hope and optimism. Just please, everybody. Exhibitions are great, and we're a really amazing industry, and I want the 3rd of June to showcase that.
That's a great note to finish on, Caitlin. And of course, at Mash Media, we're no strangers to a party. So we'll give our platforms over to this, and we look forward to reflecting all the creative ideas and hopefully giving them a push in the right direction too. So thank you for your time and
thank
good
you
luck with the campaign.
Thank you so much.